If you want to become truly unstoppable in your productivity and take the work that you value the most to the next level, then you have to learn how to get into the flow state. Flow is a performance accelerator. It's where your always on monkey mind takes a back seat to action and awareness, and you see your performance levels skyrocket. So, if that sounds like something you'd be interested in learning more about, stay tuned as we talk about some of the strategies for hacking productivity through getting into the flow state. So, the first thing that makes a huge difference is to create your bliss station. When Joseph Campbell talked about finding your bliss, he talks about a time and place that is uniquely yours and that you can carve out in your own little bubble of the world in order to get into that most focused and productive state to create something that is uniquely yours. Your bliss station is where you will do deep work and should inspire creativity from you. So, this may be a location like sitting down at a desk to work and have music blasting like Stephen King does whenever he's writing his novels. And it also could be a time. So, if you've got a busy household, then maybe you're carving out that time window sometime first thing in the morning or after everybody else has gone to bed. So the good news is creating a bliss station does not judge your circumstances. So whether you've got a household full of people or a space all to yourself, that's why it's the combination of space and time that really creates your own bliss station. But whatever it takes, also having a consistent routine, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is going to also be important for maximizing your productivity and getting into flow. So next up, you want to know your chronotype. If you have something that you care deeply about performing well with, it's not only important to carve out the time, but also make sure that that time is aligned with when you perform your very best. And this is about knowing your chronotype. Do you wake up early in the day ready to take on the world, or do you prefer to stay up late and work into the night? Usually we categorize people as morning larks or night owls, and there's definitely the full range in between as well. But knowing your chronotype is going to help in dictating when you're going to do your best cognitively demanding tasks, as well as your creative work, and when you'll perform your best in your workouts and physical activity. For myself, I'm the type of person who likes to wake up early and ideally spend 30 to 60 minutes in the morning writing when there are no distractions. And it's always been this way for me. Even in university, I couldn't focus and study well after dinner time as my energy would start to drop off. And this ties in also when I find that my best workouts are done is usually 60 to 90 minutes after I wake up. And so one of the most important things here is that I actually schedule those times in to my day when I know I'm going to perform the best at them because it's meaningful to me. And something that I've learned more recently about chronotypes and realized for myself is that morning larks tend to be more creative later on in the day. This is when the prefrontal cortex starts to go offline, as well as executive functioning tends to slow down, so you get out of your own head, and that allows you to be more creative. Your default mode network is able to be more engaged, or as Scott Barry Kaufman likes to call it, the imagination network. And so this is a great time to actually explore more creative tasks in your schedule. And if you're more of a night owl or you have a later sort of chronotype, you might actually find the complete opposite schedule works best for you, in which case workouts happen later in the day, as well as your more cognitively demanding tasks. And maybe in the morning when you're a little more groggy and sleepy is actually a good time for you to do more of the creative tasks. And one of the best things I can recommend is to play around with your schedule to find what works best for you if you don't intuitively already know what your chronotype is. Now, another crucial component of hacking productivity through getting into the flow state is having a peak performance ritual. Peak performers often have a routine or ritual that they perform prior to their most meaningful work or task. And for some that have it really well ingrained, this could just be a mantra or a quick phrase that they use that helps them to snap into a more focused and flowy state. And for others, they've got a more drawn out and elaborate routine, especially during competition times or before big games. But whatever method they use, This process and ritual is used to help them to get into flow more quickly. And after many repeated practices with this ritual, it essentially is hypnotizing them to get into a flow state and perform at their very best. Often it can take as long as 20 minutes to get back into the zone and into a flow state after you've been distracted or if anything has deterred your attention. And so having a ritual that allows you to snap back into it much more quickly is going to help you to perform your very best when it matters most. You'll be off to the races and in the zone much quicker. And as it is dealing with limited time, having a ritual that allows you to do this is going to mean you're much more efficient and productive in getting past that struggle phase of the flow state. And this is why it's so important to also consider your bliss station and your chronotype as part of your peak performance ritual, because having those two steps already established is going to expedite the process and make it that much more efficient for you to perform your very best. And a few quick tips to anchor yourself to a peak state and get into flow that I find really useful. Practice is the only way this is going to work. You need to repeat the process and make it a habit for it to become automatic for you. Use a phrase that will get you excited, energized, and inspired. And doing this step will allow you to avoid any long and unnecessary rituals. You can use something from somebody that inspires you, whether it's Jocko's Get After It, or dare I say, find your flow. And music is another powerful trigger for peak performance and the flow state. This is why Stephen King always blasts the same AC/DC and Metallica for his writing sessions to pump out novel after novel. And this is why you so often see athletes with their headphones on before a game. Find a song or a playlist that works for you and let that feeling of flow intimately connect with it. When I was in university, before every exam, I would listen to the Carter 3, and this whole album became a trigger for flow and a peak state for me so much that whenever I listen to it now, it still brings me immediately back into that state. And I know people who have anchored themselves to songs like Eminem's Lose Yourself so tightly that whenever they hear that song, even if they're sitting down for a dinner party, they have to go and take a lap around the block because they just get so fired up from it. So if you can do this with a song or a playlist or even just a phrase that you say to yourself, you can quickly get into a higher performing state to hack productivity and flow. So an important thing to realize is that there isn't one cut and dry way to go about doing this, but it's learning what works best for you over time and refining it, ideally so that it's not a long and drawn out process, but a really quick ritual that you can use to hack into productivity. Because I find that if you can keep it to the length of a song or less, then you can get into a peak state at any time and any place. And if you want to learn more about getting into the flow state, then check out this video here where I talk about the conditions that are needed to be in place before getting into flow. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the thumbs up if you like this video. And until the next one, find your flow.